President Joe Biden would have you believe that he supports a waiver on the vaccine patents, enabling effectively more and more countries to domestically produce the vaccine and get their populations vaccinated. In fact, he said this recently: I call on the nations gathering next week for the WTO ministerial meeting to meet the US challenge to waive intellectual property protections for COVID vaccines, so these vaccines can be manufactured globally. I endorsed this position in April. This news today reiterates the importance of moving on this quickly. He was referring there to the new news about the Omicron variant of COVID that's going around. So he's saying, I want you to do it. I've been talking about it since April. I'm pushing for it now. But are they actually doing that? Because some documents have been released from a recent gathering of the TRIPS body, the Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights meeting. And apparently in there, the Biden administration just referred to their past comments about the vaccine patent. They didn't push people vigorously, the countries vigorously there, to actually move on it. They never specified whether they support the specific proposal for vaccine patent removal put forward by South Africa and India way back in October of last year, nor clarified what changes it would like to see from that or other plans if it doesn't support those. So publicly, they're giving speeches saying, we want to do this thing, but behind closed doors, they're basically just sitting there and saying, I refer you to what I said in the spring, and that's it. So that is, they don't seem to be like aggressive roadblocks to the waiver happening, but they're hardly assuming a position of leadership on this, Nina.
That's it, John. They're not aggressively saying to the world, let's get this done. I mean, the member nations of the WTO, the United States of America, do you know what we could do if we stood up morally on this issue and how we could get the barriers to the patent done? Absolutely done. The President of the United States of America saying this must happen. This burns my behind, John, a whole lot, because it's hypocrisy is what it is. And when you're dealing with a pandemic, something of this magnitude, you can't just, putting a ban on people traveling here, and you know that there are some doctors who have said this ban is not going to work. Look, the crime is already here. Just like the Rona here, the crime is here too. And cutting off travel and making certain people in this world, making them feel less than, stigmatizing them in the same way that other president did. What is the difference? Whether you do it with a smile or you do it with open bigotry, with overt bigotry as President Trump did. What difference does it make? It is the actions, John, and that is what has been exposed here. That is what you are exposing. That there is, you can say, what are you going to do? They're not doing anything, and countries are suffering. The industrialized nations of this world must come together and make the damn demand and put some action behind that demand. People all over the world, we talk about our deaths here, all over the world are vulnerable and are dying, and particularly on the continent of Africa. And these folks sitting up here playing games. That's period. So you're right, Fox News, if you want to criticize something, how about that, baby?
Exactly, yeah, criticize the ban. They're not going to because they loved it under Trump. By the way, like I understand the variant. We're banning travel from countries that have way less COVID than we do, which seems weird. They should be banning travel from us. We've got multi-million-dollar news anchors going on the air every night telling people, no, natural immunity is really cool. You should get COVID. Like, no, it's the best thing to get COVID. And we're banning travel from those countries. But I want to give you an update.
One other point, John, but the ban doesn't work in and of itself. Yeah. This is not something we can't, borders don't work in this case. Action does towards trying to eradicate this thing, trying to tame it, and doing everything in our power to get all nations. Yes, of course, charity starts at home and then spreads abroad. But where is our charity abroad, given the immense wealth that this thing, and even when we show that kind of charity, we're actually showing it for ourselves. Yeah. No, this 100%. Is a case, in the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that what affects one directly affects us all indirectly. Like this, that is real. That's tangible.
Yeah. And we said this on the show yesterday. I mean, what did we say when we were having a debate 10 months ago about the vaccine waiver? If you just sit by and watch as COVID continues to wreak havoc around the world, it is going to birth not only endless suffering and deaths, but also variants, and you will not be able to avoid those variants reaching our shores. Well, that's now happening regularly. We had Delta, and now we're gonna have Omicron, and God only knows we're gonna get Gamma, and we're gonna get all sorts of stuff. Exactly as we said, and how much progress has there been? I'll let you know how much progress there's been. Public Citizen did a review of CDC data, and they found that so far in America, 37 million people have received a booster shot. So this isn't regular vaccination. They've already been vaccinated. 37 million have also gotten a booster. Meanwhile, across the countries of Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, 8 different countries, only 30 million people have gotten a shot of a vaccine, one shot. So we're outpacing huge sections of the world just in our boosters, and then hoping the boosters will protect us from variants that don't even exist yet, and allowing chaos and suffering and death around the world. That's what we're doing. It's a great strategy, Nina.
And John, and you know what else? And this is real. Another reason why the world does not care, because it is Africa. I mean, historically, let's look at imperialism, colonialism. This is just another, you wanna talk about strains, this is just another iteration of it in the 21st century. We have other countries that are suffering too, but particularly the level of the suffering on the continent of Africa. Let's not fool ourselves as to why, in fact, this is happening. Let's call it what it is. Most of the industrialized nations are not black, are not of color. Most of them are European, and we see the play. It's the same play of the 20th century, the 19th century, the 18th century, the 17th century, the 16th century. It's the same play, but a different day. And we got to own that.
Yeah, 100%.
Burns my behind.
Yeah, I find that comparison to be just awful.
John, can you say that again though? But can you just make that point just one more time? Even if it's just for me, please.
In the US, just boosters, extra stuff, extra renewed protection, 37 million across 8 countries that are on the new travel restriction list, by the way, only 30 million people. So way more boosters than across 8 different countries. It's insane. What do we think is going to happen? And I know that making this comparison for the vast majority of every Republican and the vast majority of Democrats isn't gonna mean anything. So pretend I'm talking about Sweden and Ireland and Greece and Italy. Pretend that, because they're people, regardless of which country they're in, and they are suffering. All the variants that we're super worried will someday hit us. Yeah, they are there. We could care about that. We could do something about this. It would be a very inexpensive investment and do endless moral good, objective moral good. We spend all this money on national defense. This seems like a great opportunity to do a little bit of national defense while also helping people around the world. Think about all the goodwill that we could generate, but we're not. Anyway, the lower third has been referencing the fact that nursing unions have come together in 28 different countries to push for the UN to make these the vaccine waivers available. We also saw just before going live that Senator Bernie Sanders is once again pushing the WTO to approve vaccine patent waiver. We're getting a reminder right now of how necessary this is. It shouldn't be necessary, this reminder, but we're getting it. We'll have to see if the WTO or the UN actually listens.
When the nurses speak, baby, you better listen.
I hope.
That's it. I mean, yeah.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.